As somebody at age 25 who woke up in the morning, my children ushering in the new day, and then turning and realizing that my husband had died during the night, I understand that in order to go through grief, you have to go through it. You can't go around it. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross came up with 5 stages of grief. The problem is she called them stages. And they're really not, because they don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, check mark, you're done. You could go 1 through 5 and then back to 2, then to 4, then to 3. It's not a fluid 1 to 5 experience. That's why it should be called grief experiences. So 1, you have an experience of denial. You're just in shock. You can't believe that it's actually happened. This person is gone. 2, you get angry, which kind of speaks for itself, but you can also have tremendous amounts of anxiety in that anger, but it's just a frustration and anger about how could this have happened. And then 3, you start bargaining. You start reprocessing all of the things that happened leading up to this person's death. And what could you have done differently to create a different outcome? It usually involves a lot of guilt. 4 is depression, which kind of speaks for itself, but it's this overwhelming darkness, the kind of heaviness that comes over you when you realize this person is gone. The just heaviness of that permanency. Some people even have suicidal thoughts. And then acceptance, a sense that eventually you're going to be able to move through it and move on with your life. But you may be driving down the street one day and you pass by a place that reminds you of that person and you feel like you're doing okay until it triggers all of these feelings back up where you get angry and you're trying to figure out, how did this really happen? And you start walking through all the steps that led up to their death and what could I have done differently? And suddenly you're in all of the stages at the same time. That's all part of the process. It's all about making space to accept exactly where you are and just showing up and being present with it, because you will move through it. When my husband died, this woman came over and she said, you got to go back into the house. Well, that was the last thing I wanted to do. I was terrified of going back in there. Then she said, you have to go back in the bedroom. You have to strip the bed. And as I did that, I started to scream and yell and pound my fists as I was so upset about what had happened. And it was the first experience of really discharging a lot of that emotion and also working through the terror of stepping back into it. But the more that I worked through it and dealt with wherever I was able to finally move through it. And the same will be for anybody who's going through grief, is that it's going to come in the flows that it comes, and then you move through it.